What's going on, ambitious vet? Thanks for diving into the trenches with us again this week as we seek to provide you the golden grenades you need to get yourself out of your own way and also fuel your desire to make an impact post-military. This is your podcast built by veterans for veterans as we dive into trenches with today's top subject matter experts, share inspiring transition stories, and provide masterclasses to equip you to reach your full potential. Bottom line is, this is your place to go after immediate transitional education expires.
The next thing I would say is to balance, saving for your future and your lifestyle. You can only go so far starving yourself. It is important for you to save your money, get out of debt, make sure, you get ahead, because there's always going to be something that comes up, whether that's a crisis or an opportunity that's going to cost you money. It's just a question of if and how much it is going to be. You don't want to miss out on opportunities to increase your quality of life or have amazing experience because you didn't have the money for it.
Today's show is going to be brought to you by At Ease. Are you a federal traveler PCSing soon, or are you seeking temporary housing for work? Or maybe you're just a vacation rental owner or property management company seeking new channels of rental income. Regardless of the case, At Ease is a short-term rental platform helping military and federal employees and their families find government-approved temporary housing with less time and frustration. Cool thing about it is it's founded by a Marine Major Anthony Gant, a 22-plus year Marine, husband and father of 6, who grew tired of 8 different personalities living in one hotel room each time he was relocated to a new base. After 3 moves in just 2 years, Anthony and his wife, Novia, started At Ease with the mission to simplify the booking and reimbursement process for PCS orders. Bottom line is, ambitious vet, take the time and worry out of just booking your next short-term rental today by leveraging At Ease's easy-to-use website and booking engine to cut through federal travel regulations red tape and ensure you never come up short on your reimbursements again. Simply put your mind at ease now by visiting www.pcsatease.com. Again, that's www.pcsatease.com.
It's time to get into the trenches, dig into your purpose, and fire up your life's fulfillment. The Ambitious Vet Podcast starts now.
What's going on, ambitious vet? We are right back inside the trenches this week with Lacey Langford. Lacey is a financial coach, veteran, mill spouse, and entrepreneur who changes people's mindset from being fearful of money to having control and confidence with it. Military and money are her jams, in her words. She's an accredited financial counselor with over 15 years of financial planning, counseling, and coaching experience. Lacey's the founder of the Military Money Show, a podcast dedicated to helping the military community with personal finance, and LaceyLangford.com, a personal finance blog specializing in the unique world of U.S. military. Lacey's also the founder of Milmoneycon, a national conference for financial professionals united by military service. Lacey, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you for having me.
Hey, it's so exciting. I mean, I think just preparing for this show, I went back and I listened to How to Be a Military Millionaire Next Door episode. And I was just like, man, I remember reading that book when I first got out of the Marine Corps and realized that the pimped out Eclipse that I pimped out when I went to Afghanistan isn't the way to go. So it was a breath of fresh air as I was crashing and burning out of the Marine Corps to really figure out, how do I get my shit together in my personal finances? So excited to have you. Would love to just kind of hear your background and kind of fill the gaps inside that introduction, if you don't mind.
Yes. Well, I grew up in the military. My father was in the Army. He was a military police officer. So that has always been a way of life. I think there's only been 1 year of my life that I haven't held an ID card. And that was the gap between getting out and getting married. But I joined the Air Force after I graduated from high school. I knew that I wanted to work. I knew I wanted to go to school, but I just wasn't ready. And so the military was a good fit for me. I think I had a lot of growing up to do, and it was a good opportunity. So I joined the Air Force, and that's where I met my husband. At that point, he was in the Air Force, but then he joined the Army. So I became a military spouse and have getting my education while I was still in active duty, transitioning out, getting my degree. And now I'm in finance, but I couldn't find a job because I was a military spouse. So every other year, my husband was deployed, and the year he was home, he's gone half of that year. So it made it very difficult with small children to build my career as a financial professional and my earning ability. And so one day I just got really pissed off, and I was like, I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to make something that's PCS proof, that I have control over, I can take with me. I won't be inhibited by anybody else. And I can work preschool hours if that's what I need. I could take a break on deployments. There would be a lot more flexibility that would come with it. And so that's what I did. I was like, I'll start a business. I'm going to put up a website because people got to find me. I'm going to put some information on that website so people know that I'm competent, who I am. And then it evolved from there, doing one-on-one coaching and counseling. And I wanted to reach more people. So I created a podcast so I could help more, have a greater reach. And then it just evolved from there, getting more into media and business, and then seeing the needs. I think a lot of great ideas come out of getting ticked off about something. And that's, how I feel about this conference that I'm starting. I see a need, people coming together, communicating, mentorship, earning ability. And so again, I was like, I'm going to make something that's going to fix that problem.
Oh, and I can tell nothing's getting in your way, right? And Ambitious Vet, she's all over the place, right? She has courses that she's created in partnership with USAA inside of Bunker Labs. Amazing content, anywhere from all these guest blogs that I see popping up all over Google, just to help you figure out the basics, finance 101, to kind of get everything figured out and then figure out how to go to the next level. And, Lacey, you've done a great job with all of that, because it's so hard to break down. And Marine Corps, and Marines perspective, like myself, see these financial jargon terms and be able to unpackage them and apply them to everyday life. And we're just trying to get out and execute and, make life happen post-military. Right. So I really just acknowledge you for just being able to, get out and not having PCS stop you from your career advancement, which a lot of military spouses, unfortunately, have had that happen. But women like you are showing and paving the way on how you can start your own business, thrive in it, and really go and make a big difference. So that's amazing stuff. Well, I want to dive into a topic that we were talking about, I think a couple of weeks ago. And really the Ambitious Vet that's listening, usually listens to this show, right, is veterans that have been out for at least a few years. They probably were most likely enlisted. They didn't do the 20 plus year where they have that pension, right? But they know how to make money. They're just trying to figure out how to manage it, how to diversify it, stuff like that. Someone may be listening to this right now. Don't really know how to make money, but for the majority, they really do. And we just want to kind of start diving into financial next steps, right? Smart money moves, the ambitious vets, they're looking to be more wise with their money. What are some top high level ideas that you would have for a veteran in that life stage?
Well, I say one, always increase your education. That's something, things always change. Finance is a humbling professional for a financial professional. So people that don't do this for a living shouldn't feel bad about not understanding some jargon or a change that's happened, but you kind of need to stay on top of it to learn the latest and greatest. So find that, if that's going to, Yahoo Finance, if that's listening to my podcast, if that's listening to another podcast, going through your bank, they have education programs, going to Military One Source, wherever you're getting your knowledge, make sure you're staying on top of that. But then, as you're moving into your investments and, growing your wealth and taking things to the next step, to the next level, you want to make sure you're doing what works best for you and your goals, not doing something because that's what your neighbor's doing or your buddy on Facebook is doing. That's not a really smart money move. if you don't understand something financial when it's going good, you're not going to understand it when it's going bad. And that's going to be the time when you need to have a full understanding to make an informed decision on your next move. So I think that's really important, is to, not overcomplicate things, the simple things, making sure that you're invested maybe in an index fund or a mutual fund, you're in your TSP. Those type of things can go a long way versus you trying to get into crypto or you trying to get into NFTs. If you don't understand that, or don't have the passion to take the time to understand that, that might not be the best move for you and your money, because again, you're not going to understand it when things are going wrong or the playing field has changed. So that's something that, you don't want to set and forget your finances. And more simple stuff are easier to get set up, give a little wiggle room, check back, versus something that's more complicated. You might need to stay on top of more. So really think about what your goals are and then line that up with your knowledge and what you're comfortable with. And then the next thing I would say is understanding the time frame compared to your goal. So if your goal is to save a down payment for a home, where are you going to invest that money in the proper time frame? You don't want to put that into your thrift savings plan because you can't take that money out until you're 59 and a half. That's not the right spot for it. Your checking account isn't going to be earning enough interest. So that might not be the right spot for it. But you might want to put in an index fund, might want to put in a mutual fund. So understanding your time horizon for your money is really important, so you know where to put it. I have a lot of times service members come and say, I have $200,000. I'm like, that is wonderful. That is really great. But they're like, it's in my checking account. I'm like, we need to talk about that. That's not the best spot for $200,000 to be just
sitting
chilling
there. Yeah.
So it's understanding, it's little tweaks like that take your money to the next level. Is if you're doing all the right things, you're saving your money, you're spending less than you make, you're trying to, build wealth and financial freedom, you got to have it in the right spot. So that's the next thing, is to understand what your goal is with your money, what the time frame is, and then figuring out where you're going to park that money until it's time to fulfill that goal. Because it could be a retirement goal, it could be saving up for getting your PhD, it could be saving up for a new car. So just aligning it in the right spot. If you're saving up for a new Xbox, that could probably chill in your checking account, maybe your savings account, but you don't want to put that in a mutual fund. I mean, I guess you could, but and then also you want to make sure taking your money to the next level is that you're using all of your benefits. If you separated from the military, you have a civilian job, you need to understand your HR packet. What are they offering? Are they giving discounts on hotels when you travel? Are they giving you, an HSA account? What do you have? So then you can make better decisions for your family goals. If it's just you, health care might look a little bit different if it's you and a family. And so making sure you're using your benefits to their fullest potential is really helpful to building your wealth, because, you don't want to make a mistake that's going to cost you a lot of money. Which leads to my next point is, in the military, there's a lot of insurance. You're covered, under the SGLI, you have medical insurance. When you get out, if you're not retired or you didn't get the VGLI, which a lot of people don't because it gets more expensive, you want to make sure that you're insured properly. Do you have enough life insurance? Do you have enough insurance for your home? Do you have an umbrella policy? You need to make sure that you're protecting everything that you earned in order to keep growing that wealth and reach financial freedom. So that would definitely be a smart money move, is to make sure your house is fully covered if something happens. It's not necessarily a fun thing to do, but you can take one day and sit down and call and say, hey, can you explain my insurance policy to me? Do you think I need more coverage? You can compare prices, make sure you're getting the best coverage for the lowest possible price, those type of things. And then making sure that you do have life insurance if, you need it. If you don't have any children and you maybe have insurance through your new civilian job, you might not need additional life insurance. So really looking at all the insurance possibilities is important. If you're married, you also want to look at your spouse's retirement. If you've a military spouse that hasn't been working and saving for her or his retirement, that's a huge problem. What if something happens to you? What if you get divorced? Your spouse needs to have a retirement. And so that's whether they're working, they could contribute to their employer's 401k, or they could set up an individual retirement account. But you want to make sure that that is being factored into your family financial plan is that you're saving for the spouse's retirement as well. And then you want to stay on track. You want to think about your earning ability. You want to be ahead of the game, not behind the curve. And so looking at things proactively, is your job laying people off? If they are, you might want to be a little tight on your budget. You might want to make sure your LinkedIn account is set up. If you know that you're miserable at that job, probably not going to be able to stay there for another year. You should start looking for another job that you can make the same money or more and be happy. So it's not just about getting somewhere and like, this is good. You have to pay attention to what the future looks like and what your goals are and what you're comfortable with, and your family goals if you're married. That's really important. So because it won't always stay the same. You might get a new boss that you can't stand. They might cut your pay. They might, again, be laying people off. They might want to move you cross country. That might not be something you're down with after all the moving with the military. Right. So once you settle for a little bit, it gets harder to move.
Yeah, no, so absolutely.
Those are some of the things that I would recommend to, be smart as you move forward with your financial next steps.
Yeah. And thank you for that. Like, education, ambitious vet, knowing your time frame, benefits, insurance, and staying on track. Now, Lacey, one question I have for you when I was just thinking about when you were kind of talking about these different smart money moves is, would you say being educated on your benefits and knowing how to leverage them could create more margin to build wealth? And if so, which ones would they be for a veteran that's like been out, kind of gotten their, VA healthcare benefits, maybe got 10% disability or something, but what's like other things that we could be thinking of to leverage benefits to create more margin in life?
Well, for example, if you're contributing to an IRA, but your employer has a 401k that gives a match, and that's all let's say you only have $500 to contribute to your retirement savings each month. If you're contributing that to your IRA and your 401k is going to give a match, you're leaving free money on the table. So the smarter move might be to contribute what you need to get the match, and then, maybe contribute to your IRA, but also look at the costs. If you can get a better rate of return at a lower expense ratio, the cost of the investment with your 401k, and you're giving it to your IRA, then it doesn't make sense. You're losing money in that way. So that's one thing a lot of people do, is they leave that free money on the table. But it's the little stuff too that maybe you don't even know that your company does that could help you. I'm trying to think of a good example, and it could be like, for example, life insurance. They could offer a little bit of a policy that's all you need, and you're paying more to another insurance company for a policy that's more than you need and costs more money. So if you could reduce that expense, that extra money could be more money for your 401k. That could be more money for your savings account for short-term things like a family trip. It can also be more money to put towards, if you have a little bit of debt that's nagging you, you have that money now to get that debt out from under you, which, if you do have debt, that's another thing to think about. If you're paying 12% interest on a credit card and you're trying to save money for a down payment on a house and you're only getting 5%, you're losing money in that spread by not paying off your debt. So starting to look at, what you are paying for versus what you're earning, I think is really important.
Yeah. Like really comparing the two, right? And seeing, how much do you have too much month at the end of your money was always one of my favorite quotes learning as in my 20s when I got out of the Marine Corps. Right.
Yep.
But yeah, like I remember whenever I was in the corporate world out in San Diego, my wife and I are now in the DFW area and we like it here. But it was like an HSA or something like that I would put money into. And I believe it was for like dental appointments, stuff like that, kind of like a bank. And once I chose to leave that corporate world, I had accrued, I think like over $5,000 in that from my check. And I was just like, and then like I had an HR professional reach out to me. Hey, did you know you had this nest egg of money that's equity just sitting in there that was supposed to be applied for dental? And I didn't even know that. So really understanding what kind of benefits the company you're working at is super important, because you may even have stock options or something like that in a company, depending on the stage, right? So that's a really, really good point.
Yeah, that's the HR department's job is to help you with that stuff. So setting up an in-person appointment is the best way to go because they know everything. That's, all the benefits, and they're able to walk you through it. And if not, they'll refer you. Some companies even offer free financial planning. That's huge. If you can get a financial planner to help you for free, that's a major benefit that you're missing out on. So the HR department should be your best friend on benefits.
Yeah. Yeah. Not being afraid to go ask questions either. Right. And not know the answer because you weren't paying attention in onboarding training or something like that. Always go and ask the questions too. What were you going to say, Lacey?
Oh, well, two things. One, I always tell people if I don't understand, I tell them I need you to dumb that down for me. Like I have no idea what acronym you used. I don't know what you're talking about. It's a foreign language. There's nothing wrong with that. And most of the time, they love what they do. So they're so excited that you asked them to explain it. Like, ask a financial professional, get a little deeper in investments. They're like, yeah, let's talk about the minutia. So they're happy that you ask for an explanation. And the other thing I just want to add on about, smart money moves, getting out of the military, is a lot of people don't realize there is a website to find lost money. And in the military community, we move so frequently that you often have money. I did a whole podcast episode on this because I feel like it's so important. But if you have left money in an escrow account, if you left a deposit at an apartment complex, you could have $50 to $1,000 in found money out there from I've lived like 20 different places. And we found, I think our very first home, we had, I think maybe like $500 left in an escrow account, but we had done 2 quick moves right after that, where we only stayed in the place for like 6 months. And so they couldn't find us. And then finally, I just checked the website and found out. And all I did was give them my information and they sent the check straight to our new place.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's at least a month of groceries, depending on what you eat, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But even if it's $5, it's your $5.
Exactly. And what's the website?
It is Unclaimed Property. I'll look it up. I'll give you the link, but that's what it is, unclaimed property, because some people also leave stuff in safety deposit boxes. Often when you move, you maybe you put a weapon or you put jewelry or something, and some things get lost. But also you could have family members that maybe left something to you when they passed away and they couldn't reach you. So each state has their own unclaimed property division. And I think it's foundmoney.org or Found Money. I'll have to look it up, but
yeah, just send it to me. I'll put it in the show notes below, Ambitious Vet. So what were you going to say though, Lacey?
Yes. So, but you could have money that a relative left you, an inheritance, and they've been trying to contact you because you were in the military and moving so frequently, they couldn't pin you down. Wow. And so just going through and putting your information in, they scan the database for all the states that are in there. And if not, you can go to the individual states you knew you lived in and put your name in. I have found money for my cousins. Like I found money. I do it every once in a while. I'll just check my friends.
Go in there, go inside the trenches and pay attention, Ambitious Vet. You never know what you might find, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is great. I mean, I think for me, I'm looking at keeping on track too, right? Like I know that when I got out, some of the books that made a difference for me were like The Richest Man in Babylon, Stop Acting Rich, Millionaire Next Door, which I realized that again, at the beginning of the show, I realized that my pimped out Eclipse that I spent all my deployment and COLA money on, that the motor wind up blowing out a year after the Marine Corps. And then all that, all those external features, I think I spent something crazy, like $10,000 on pimping it out. That's crazy, Lacey. You would just punish me. You would haze me. You know what I mean? And then did
you back it in too? Did you pimp park it? You backed in your Eclipse when you were the PX?
Yeah, pretty much. Had 22-inch chrome rims and bought it at the car lot that everyone tells you to stay away from, outside of Camp Pendleton, Miramar, stuff like that. Yeah, I made all the mistakes. But The Richest Man in Babylon has, you were talking about keeping on track. And one of the things, Ambitious, that helped me really start getting on track, managing my finances, because I was scared of money. I was afraid to look at my bank account because I always usually never had enough for anything. and it scared the shit out of me. But one of the formulas inside that book that, really helped me out was the 70-20-10 rule, where you live off 70%, 20% goes to debt, and 10% goes into a freedom account. Now, those numbers may change depending on how much you make, but that's an example of how I started staying on track in my life and creating the discipline and overcoming my fear around money. But Lacey, I would love to kind of hear some more of like your best practice, because obviously you're the expert here, 15 plus years of experience here, and obviously the military money expert. What are other ways that we can kind of stay on track for like that next asset we want to get, or liability? Maybe we're looking at a Dodge Ram in the next year we want to buy. What are some ways we can stay on track?
Well, a really goal setting is important. It sounds like, hopes and dreams, but it is the crucial first step. Is you have to have a plan for where you're going so that you can create the steps to get there. And that's just like going out on a mission. Like if you're like, hey, let's just throw a dart at the dartboard to see where we're going to go, not really going to be effective.
Yeah.
And so that's really important for you to look at, say like, what do I want? What do I want right now? What do I want in the future? What does it look like when I retire or when I separate? The next step of my life, wherever phase you're in, that's really important so that you can make the steps and then you can align the money to meet that goal. That's really important. Even if it's, like I said, going on a trip, or it's going back to school, saving for your children's education. Those are all things to consider. And keep it simple. You don't need to overcomplicate a process. A piece of paper will work just fine. Writing it down, putting in your cell phone notes, that's another way to do it. But keeping things simple that works for you is really important. The next thing I would say is to balance, saving for your future and your lifestyle. You can only go so far starving yourself. It is important for you to save your money, get out of debt, make sure, you get ahead, because there's always going to be something that comes up, whether that's a crisis or an opportunity that's going to cost you money. It's just a question of if and how much it is going to be. You don't want to miss out on opportunities to increase your quality of life or have amazing experience because you didn't have the money for it. You also don't want to have a blank check for your quality of life. And so it's important to find that balance. If you work very hard for your money, if you want to, take $500 a month and get Pez dispensers, that's your business. That's what you choose. Right. That's what your goal is. And that's fine, but being smart about getting there and making sure you're still putting food on the table, you're still saving for your future self, because right now you save for two people in your earning years. You're saving for yourself and your 84-year-old self. If you are not spending less than you make and saving for the future, you are not putting food on the table for your 84-year-old self. You're not putting a great roof over your head at 84. And if you think it's uncomfortable now, it's going to be super uncomfortable when you're 84. So it's better to suck it up now and figure it out and make a plan than it is at 84 when you don't have the ability to earn income. A lot of people want to hire at 84. A lot of people won't insure you at 84. So it's important to take the steps right now to protect your future self. So I think that's really important. And then, sorry, I just totally lost.
Yeah, no problem. I can say something there. That's amazing. I'm in my 30s now, and I'm just now starting to think that way. Like I said, I made a lot of mistakes in my 20s, and I was always living for the moment, ambitious vet. And, depending on wherever you are inside your life, it's thinking about 84 years old, long-term thinking versus this immediate thinking of like just that next impulse thing that's going to make us happy in the next month or 3 months or next year. You've got to be thinking over the next 10, 20 years whenever you're making today's money decisions. And one other thing I want to bring up on that is one thing that we do in the context that you just created, Lacey, in our household is like my wife has a wildflower fund every single month where she spends $100 on something that she just loves to do for herself. Maybe a night out with the girls, maybe getting a massage, something like that. But also on the flip side of that, long-term thinking, I think to your point, investing into Roth IRAs, index funds, 401ks, and really understanding the benefits of what your employer provides you, or if you're an entrepreneur, figuring out what you can be doing with your own personal finance expert around you, right? And diversifying, right? And if you are in the position for that, anything else you would add to that, Lacey?
Yes, I would definitely. That's a big part, is use free resources that are available to you. If you're less than a year out, you're still able to use Military One Source to get free financial help. If you're a veteran that's separated, still able to use the VFW services like that. They have some financial stuff. There's a lot of nonprofit organizations that give back. The Association of Military Banks and the AFCPE just have a partnership now to help veterans with finance and banking. And then as a retiree, you're still eligible to use a lot of the military services to get free financial counseling and coaching on a military installation through Military One Source. So I think using those things for free, learning maybe about investments, you may get somebody that maybe doesn't understand that, or does. So you have to maybe go to find the person, try a few people out, but using those free resources to get help with your finances is really important, to save that money instead of paying somebody. When you can get it for free, you can put that money towards your savings.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Love it. Love it. Love it. And then also I want to make time before we say goodbye. I want you to give kind of just a big overview of this Milmoney conference that's coming up in April for anybody that's, listening to this that may be aspiring to be a financial professional, right? Because one thing I know that you do as well is you have courses that can help empower people to become financial experts, whatever that looks like, coaches, consultants, anybody trying to be inside the financial world, which is a very rewarding career path. But I would love to just kind of hear your overview of this upcoming conference that you are spearheading in April.
Yes, Milmoneycon is a conference for financial professionals, whether they are entering the space or established, that are united by military service. So if you're a military spouse, you're a veteran, if you're an active duty service member, I'm really trying to bring together the community to help get connected, to understand this is the community, this is what's going on, these are resources, these are trends that are happening, just having conversations. Another part is mentorship. I know what it's like to get out of the military and want to be a financial professional, but having no idea what the playing field is like or what positions I could potentially play. And so that's really important part of this conference, is to say, hey, I've been a financial professional for 15 years. I'm here to help somebody that's just getting out. I know what it's like to be a military spouse. I'm here to help you build a career around the military lifestyle. So we're going to have all of these people that can help mentor and connect. And then the big component for me is earning power. As a service member, as a veteran, as a military spouse, if you want to be a financial professional, you should be able to earn a good living at it, especially for military spouses that are really working around a different career. And it may be that you can only work preschool hours. If you're a service member and you want to get in this field, you may be able to work after duty hours as a paraplanner. If you are a veteran, you might be going back to school, but want to start working. And so it's finding these non-traditional ways to earn as a financial professional. We're going to be going over and having opportunities at this conference. So I think some really great things are going to come out of everybody getting together and getting connected, but also a lot can be given back to active duty service members and military spouses that need help financially. If we all are coming together and have a better understanding of what's going on and how we could help, we can have a greater impact on service members that are still serving in a greater way, which will help definitely with financial readiness.
Yeah, I love it. And some of the speakers you have coming on to speak at the conference are bar none. Daniel Cobb, who was the first ever Ambitious Vet episode, I believe back in 2018, Ambitious Vet. If you haven't listened to that one, it's one of our most listened to episodes. Go and check that out. You can see how bad my interviewing skills were back then. And then Joe Crane, Veteran on the Move, another podcast host, killing it. I think he's one of the longest lasting veteran focused podcasters in our industry. And then I think I just saw David Pierre pop up from Military to Millionaire, absolute stud in just like the real estate world. So Ambitious Vet, definitely if you're interested in getting around minds that you can grow inside of, kind of know the industry and the ins and outs and start building those relationships to accelerate where you are to where you want to go. I definitely encourage you to go check out Milmoneycon.com to go check out more information around that conference. Also, Lacey, where can an Ambitious Vet go learn more about your courses, your services, and your blog?
LaceyLangford.com is a great spot to find all of that with Work With Me. I have more information on their blog articles that can help people, but all the courses, everything, that's a hub. And you can check me out on social media, on LinkedIn. I'm Lacey Langford, and Twitter, Finance Lacey, but everywhere else, pretty much Lacey Langford.
Awesome. So all those links, rather, Ambitious Vet, will be in the show notes below. And Lacey, we're going to leave you with one last golden grenade before we say goodbye. There's an ambitious vet that's listening to this show today that has been out for a few years, is in a position where they're just unsatisfied, unfulfilled, and just kind of looking at like what that next challenge is that they want to conquer. Like we all wanted to conquer when we're in our respected branches, right? What would be one last wisdom bomb that you would give to them? And then we'll say goodbye.
Nothing is going to be perfect. You have to take action and make it perfect. Whether that's learning to invest, whether that's getting out of debt, changing your career field, figuring out what you want to do, getting in shape. It's never a perfect time, but if you want something different than you have right now, you've got to do something about it. How bad does it have to get? So don't be focused on perfection before you take action. Take action and make it perfect later.
Boom. Love it. Love it. Lacey, thanks so much for joining the show. Ambitious Vet, this is the military money expert coming at you. Lacey, thank you so much for joining the show. And thank you for all the work that you are doing for our veterans and military spouses.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
The Ambitious Vet is available on all popular podcast platforms. Go to vettrainingcoaching.com to subscribe, rate, and share with fellow vets.
Ambitious Vet, before you go, make sure you go check out At Ease, today's show sponsor. If rather you are a federal traveler, PCSing soon, or seeking temporary housing for work, or maybe you're a vacation rental owner or property management company seeking new channels of rental income, At Ease is your answer. It's a short-term rental platform helping military and federal employees and their families find government-approved temporary housing with less time and frustration. Go ahead and book today and put your mind at ease. Visit www.pcsatease.com. Again, that's www.pcsatease.com.